All right, everyone, welcome back. We are here for episode 40 of Make Friends Radio. Super big accomplishment, I guess. 40 episodes is pretty good in the scheme of things. Today we are visited by our new friend Josh Pierson. As you can see on the screen here, if you're listening, probably can't see him, but yeah, we're going to have this video too. So welcome, everyone. This is Josh Pierson. If you could tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, how's it going, everyone? So I'm a filmmaker and kind of fly-by-night filmmaker for a long time. And during the day, I'm also I guess you could call it filmmaker too, but do a video production during the day and do a lot of music stuff too. And I'm kind of just all over the place, artistic, big writer. So I think we're just going to kind of tackle all of it.
Yeah, sounds good to me. That's kind of how you got to me, was through the kind of art and
Mhm.
music scene. So yeah, I'm glad that we were able to make this happen. So let's talk about the reason why we're here, right? You have produced a movie called Where Sleeping Dogs Lie, I believe,
Yep.
and had a chance to watch it. Pretty awesome. If you could tell us a little bit about the story and the movie and maybe even the process.
Yeah, totally. So I wrote, directed, and did some of the producing on it. I'll kind of touch a little bit of that as we go, but basically, the movie itself is a crime drama with a neo-noir kind of twist to it, and some comedy too. I think one of the things that I didn't. The funny thing is, after I wrote it, and I might jump around a little bit, so you can
That's
stop
all
me.
good, buddy.
Um, After I wrote it, I thought it was more of like a hardcore crime drama. And like in my head, I'm sitting there thinking, when we shoot this thing, it's going to be just dirty and nasty and just like dripping with, just sarcasm. And I think the sarcasm does come out in it,
It
but in a
does.
really comedic way, which wasn't something I expected. And it's funny that we did the first table read when I first casted the first two people. We did
Mhm.
our first table read, and it was like just to kind of get a feel for the characters and things like that. And I couldn't believe how much I was laughing, but I also couldn't believe how much everybody else in the room was laughing.
Yeah.
And it kind of made me realize certain ways that I wanted to film it when we actually did start filming. And it made me really not question where I originally was going with it, but that it's kind of showing itself in a different way. And I think that a lot of my influences also came out in in this movie. I think it's really apparent, and it's funny to me that there was actually a review that was done a few days ago, I think, that just posted yesterday or 2 days ago, and I was reading through it, and she basically called out every single one of my influences. And I've never talked to her. I have no idea who this person is.
Yeah.
But the movie itself, it's crime drama, like I said, with some comedy and things like that. But it's based in Northern California, and the year is kind of up for debate, I guess. I really wanted to feel very 80s, early 90s, mostly because I hate cell phones in movies unless it's needed. I really think that for especially like thrillers and things like that and suspenseful movies, that taking the cell phone out of play really works well for it because
Mhm.
if you have somebody that's like trying to get to a phone but can't get to the phone because the phone's attached to the wall, those
Yeah.
types of things, I think it plays really well for suspense.
Yeah.
Um,
I got a chance to watch it, and I really enjoyed it. I haven't had a chance to actually tell you that yet, but that was it was a really fun watch. It was very dark, which I thought was cool, but it was one of those kind of like, yeah, like sarcastic is the um, good explanation of it. It's kind of the sarcastic comedy that comes along with it, and I thought the three main characters really played well together with their kind of back and forth. So I thought you did a really good job there.
Thank you.
So you mentioned Northern California. Was that done primarily locally?
It was, I would say 80% of it was done in Colfax,
Okay.
which is for those that don't know, it's about an hour and a half, hour, 45 minutes, kind of east of here, northeast of here.
Yeah.
And it's, the reason we did that was because of the house that it's shot in. So for those that don't know, it's about 80% of the movie takes place in a house. And, it's interesting because I did a lot of the things that I did on purpose when I wrote it, because when you don't have any money to make a movie, I don't have $200,000 or $300,000 to make a movie,
Sure.
and we knew that we weren't, none of us had names attached to us. We didn't have a name attached to the movie. So we knew we had to do this on our own. And so I decided, I have to find a way to write, to be myself as a writer and a director while still being able to do it cheap enough to where we can shoot it locally.
Sure.
And so that's why most of it's in a house. And the rest of it is just kind of sparsed out around Sacramento.
Yeah, it was awesome. Where was the diner? Was that also in
The diner, the opening diner,
yeah.
it was in Sac. It's Lil Joe's steak something or other on Del Paso Boulevard.
Shout out to Little Joe's. That's awesome. Yeah, man. Again, I enjoyed it. I hope everyone gets a chance to see it. And by the time that this actually airs on the 15th, I believe it will be out. Where can people find it?
So it actually drops today on iTunes and Apple TV for pre-orders, to buy it basically, and
Yeah.
then on the 7th it'll be available for rent. I'm not sure how much. And it'll be available for rent on the 7th, and also you'll still be able to buy it on the 7th. And then down the road, right now, basically our distribution company is working to secure other rights, and whether that's going to be Netflix or Hulu, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I just know that that's what's going on. I think the fallback is going to be Prime, and I say fallback in a lightly, because it's either way it's awesome.
It's
So
pretty awesome. Yeah. I mean, they have Mr. Robot on Prime, so you can't really go wrong with that. Yeah. Cool. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing that as I kind of scroll through the what to watches, and I'm encouraging everyone else. If you have the opportunity now, buy it or rent it. If you see it when it's on Amazon Prime or Hulu or Netflix, absolutely don't hesitate to watch it, because yeah, it was a fun little watch, and yeah, it's cool that that was all done by someone locally.
thanks, man. Yeah, it's interesting because you know, I don't think independent filmmakers get enough, especially right now. There's so much content out there that it's hard for people in general. I mean, for me, for anybody, I don't care who you are. It's hard to figure out what you want to watch, right? I mean, especially now you're stuck at home
Hmm.
especially in California, it's pretty bad right now. We're all stuck at home. We're trying to figure out what to watch all day, every day now.
Hence the Zoom.
Yeah, exactly. Um, so I think it it's really important for independent filmmakers in general that have done features that are getting them out there to be able to get for people to see them, or else you might be passing over somebody that's insanely great actor or insanely great writer or director or something like that down the road. You never really know.
Sure. Absolutely. So, when you were filming, did you run into any complications, any kind of war stories for this? I mean, I imagine a lot of work went into this film.
Yeah, it was. I'll actually back up a little bit and then I'll answer your question.
Sure.
So we shot, it was a 22-day shoot technically, but Hollywood productions and stuff like that, they shoot consistently for those 21 or 22 days or whatever it is. And then they're done. They're in the can and then they go and start editing it. Well, we had to shoot on weekends, and we did that for like 3 months basically. And where the complication comes in is that the house, I don't know if you noticed or not, but the living room where most of the movie takes place
Hmm.
is about 30 feet of windows.
I
So
did.
we couldn't black out all those windows because it was literally the house sat on the side of like a mountain almost
Hmm.
in Colfax. So we couldn't get up there to black out those windows or anything like that to shoot during the day. So we're all working day jobs. We're coming home at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon on Fridays, and then packing up, and then all of us caravanning back up there. And by all of us, I mean if there was about 18 to 20 of us on set a day,
Nice.
and so we're all caravanning up there every Friday, and we're shooting throughout the night until 7 a.m. and then caravanning back down, and then Saturday night going back up, and then Sundays, because we only had access to certain locations on weekends and things like that, and we could only
Hmm.
shoot on weekends anyway because of everybody's schedules. We were shooting days on Sundays, like the bar scene.
Hmm.
Well, bar scenes technically. Um, we were shooting 2 nights in a row and went straight from the house at 7 a.m. all the way downtown to, or not downtown, Fair Oaks, to the bar to shoot,
Hmm.
and we were shooting there until 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And it's just, so when you say when you say complications,
Sounds like a lot.
yeah, I think the whole thing actually at the end of the day was probably a giant complication
Sure.
that we
It
just kind of
turned.
overcame.
You couldn't tell though. Honestly, you did a great job. One of the things I always look for when I watch movies is continuity errors. And after what you just told me, I'm really surprised there weren't like things moved around in the house or something like that where it was obvious. Are there any continuity errors that you're aware of?
So it's funny. The very last scene of the movie we
Hmm.
shot first, and I don't, the guys are all wearing the three robbers basically are all wearing gloves and masks most of the movie. And let me tell you, I'll tell anybody this that will listen to me is, for the love of God, don't ever shoot with gloves and masks your entire movie, because you will, like, especially when you're shooting at 3 o'clock in the morning, these guys are running around trying to figure out where their stuff is at and like who's wearing what and when they were at. And my continuity person's like, I don't even know what's going on anymore because everybody's all just so drained and tired.
Sure.
And there is continuity. So the last scene of the movie, there's one shot where Barry, the one with the glasses,
Yeah.
that he's not wearing his gloves, and I didn't even realize it, and I still don't see it, which is the funny thing. But my fiance Courtney, who's also one of the producers on the movie,
Shout outs to
she
Courtney.
what?
I said shout outs to Courtney.
She basically kept this whole thing together from start to finish. Honestly, um, she noticed she noticed that continuity error, but we also got really lucky because the house, the people that own it, they really insanely great people, insanely really talented people. They're both artists too. One of
Hmm.
them's an actor, and then his wife is a like a, I think she's a cellist in San Jose.
That's cool.
And so yeah, they're an older couple, but they were great about letting us actually keep the room the same, or relatively the same.
Hmm.
So things didn't get moved around that much. There's a few small things like in the garage and in the kitchen, but other than that, I mean, we got really lucky.
It was smooth, man. And by the way, the guy with the glasses is by far my favorite character.
I'll let them know that.
Yeah, I like that guy, and I like the other guys as well. I mean, everyone did great, but I just liked his like snarkiness. Yeah, I
I
think.
think they all have a purpose, right? And they all play off of each other pretty well, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
And his it's funny because, like, so my lead Jesse, who plays Jeff,
Yeah.
I originally, that opening scene, I wrote that years ago. I wrote that opening scene like 4 years ago, and just kind of hung on to it. And I told myself when I started writing this thing, I was like, I looked at Courtney and I'm like, look, I don't think anybody else can play this part the right way, so I'm just going to direct it and I'm going to be in it. And that was the original plan. And then I met Jesse through an audition, and he just knocked it out of the park. And I was like, oh, he's dripping with that ugliness that I wanted in that opening scene.
Hmm.
So it was awesome from there.
Yeah.
And I'm
The
so glad I didn't have to act in this thing because I probably can't act for shit.
the main character was for sure grimy. Yeah, I like that. I feel like after watching that, I don't even have to really ask what kind of music you're into. I kind of get the metal vibe from you.
Yeah, I would say that I'm mostly a metalhead,
Yeah.
but I'm kind of all over the place to some degree. My dad was a producer slash recording engineer when I was
Okay.
growing up, and a DJ. So I just grew up in the music industry and grew up around rock and metal, especially back in the '80s and early '90s. But I got really into punk when I was like 18, 19 years old. I also listen to a lot of indie stuff now and stuff like that. It really depends on my mood.
Yeah. Have you ever shot a music video?
Yeah, I've shot a couple of music videos, and one of them is getting ready to come out sometime in the next month or two, I think. But it's basically up to the band at this point. It's for Deconstruct. They're a local band, but they've got larger roots than that.
Hmm.
And that video came out great. I'm really excited to see it coming out. But they're putting together like a whole package right now for labels and things like that. So
Sure. Press release.
yeah.
Cool. So you mentioned that you've got a good, and I've seen a lot of the reviews on your social media. So you mentioned that someone called out all of your influences almost to the T. For those of us who are just meeting you for the first time, which is awesome, by the way, um, who are your influences?
Um, I, I'm a little all over the place just simply because I think, you know, I say I had it the last interview that I did. It was funny. He asked me, what my major influences were because he thought it was mostly like crime
Hmm.
directors and writers and things like that. And I started thinking about it after I answered the question, where I think it's interesting back in the 80s and early 90s when when I was growing up, it was, and I don't know how old you are, but um, it we didn't have access like we have access today. So, we basically only had access to what we saw on VHS that we rented from the store, and we only had access to, movie theaters. So a lot of what we saw were big blockbuster movies and things
Sure.
like that when we were kids. And every once in a while, obviously, we'd rent something on VHS and be like, what the hell is this and where did it come from? But that was rare. And so I think my biggest influence is like as a kid, initially off the bat was Steven Spielberg, but not not the traditional Spielberg. I mean, yes, Jurassic Park I think is just groundbreaking on so many levels and
Sure.
things like that, and Jaws is as well. But his first movie is Duel. My dad showed me Duel when I was really young. I want to say I was probably 7 or 8 years old, and it's a made-for-TV movie that Spielberg did, and it was his first movie, and it's intense, man. If and it really sets a tone for Spielberg's next 6, 7 movies, where he relies on suspense. I mean, if you watch Jurassic Park, you still get all that suspense, and
Oh,
I
for
think
sure.
people forget a lot that it's not really a kids movie. you know it's that opening scene where the dude gets drug into the raptor.
Shooter, shooter. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a good scene.
But yeah, Spielberg was always a huge influence on me visually more than anything, and
Hmm.
suspenseful. And then I got really into Tarantino. I
Sure.
was it's funny, do you remember pay-per-view back in the day? You had to call in to order your pay-per-view,
Hmm.
and you couldn't just press the button or whatever on your TV. So my parents were, they were kind of, my dad worked odd hours, my mom worked odd hours, so I was home alone a lot or I was with friends a lot. And I remember it was like in the middle of the night on a weekend or something like that, and I called pay-per-view and I ordered Pulp Fiction. And I was 12 years old, I think, when it came out. Probably shouldn't have been watching Pulp Fiction at 12 years old, but it uh, changed my entire perspective. And it's really that mixed with like Jurassic Park and a few other things really made me realize that I needed to make movies. And it wasn't just that I wanted to tell stories because I've always been a writer. I just I love the visual aspect of telling those stories,
Sure.
and I like what it does to people. Um, I think with Pulp Fiction, it was interesting because he showed me that you could tell a really compelling story and with flashbacks and jumping around and things like that, and really see certain aspects of people's characters throughout. And it's funny because I, I did that on purpose in Where Sleeping Dogs Lie, and the girl that did that review from Screen Critics, she called it out like 5 times that it was like calling back to Tarantino, calling back to
Hmm.
Tarantino. And I knew I was doing it because I thought that it was right for the movie. I thought it was right for the
The
character.
vibe is there. The,
Yeah.
the Tarantino vibe is absolutely there. I could see that. I will say that your parents are probably much happier than mine with what was getting ordered on pay-per-view, though. I'll tell you. Awesome. So, I mean, videography aside, I understand you also do kind of professional photography as well, and that probably revolves around the music scene. Take me a little bit into that aspect of your life.
Yeah. it- the photography thing I've kind of fell into because I've been a journalist for a long, long, long time. I mean, probably going on about 20 years now, just doing music journalism mostly.
Mhm.
When I was in college, it was just something that I got gravitated towards because I needed the credits. So I just started doing it and like interviewing bands and things like that.
Mhm.
And then I got hooked up with a couple of magazines and some bigger magazines and then some bigger ones. and then started doing it online when the print industry took a nosedive. And I realized when I started doing it online that now it's all me. It's on me to get all these things, to get all the content.
Yep.
So it's not on, whoever the magazine's going to send out to do the photos. And I was taking photos for a long time at shows and stuff like that. I've been going to shows since I was a kid. So it was just a matter of really like figuring out, well, how did I want to do these photos? Like, what did they want? What did I want them to look like? And the first, I mean, I would say the first hundreds that I did were awful. I mean, they were just god awful. But you learn and you start growing and you take classes and you learn things online and you talk to people, you talk to friends and stuff like that, and you just learn. And like, so that's why I mean, like, I fell into it. But when I started getting good at it in my own eyes, like I started seeing the art in it.
Mm-hmm.
I started loving it. I loved everything about it. It was just something about, not like being in the crowd is one thing, especially at metal shows and punk shows and things like that. It's intense sometimes, and it just is. But when you're the one person that sometimes potentially huge bands are just looking down at and staring
Mm-hmm.
at, and they're connecting with you more than they're connecting with the audience sometimes, that is such a powerful, moving thing. And bands that I love, that I've shot. And I mean, when I shot Slash, he
That's
looked
pretty
right
cool.
down at me, and I was just like, oh man, I could die happy right now. Like, and was just talking to me.
I for sure thought you were going to say the Backstreet Boys, but Slash is cool
Oh
too.
yeah. Yeah.
Slash is cool. So, when actually let's back it up a little bit. When you talk about education and that kind of stuff, do you feel like there's a component of photography where you learn more in a classroom setting, or do you feel like you learn more when you're just out in the field, kind of, dicking around trying to figure out how things work?
It's an interesting question because I never went to school for photography or video.
Mm-hmm.
I went to school for journalism mostly, and that was 20 years ago, before obviously it died.
Sure.
And now journalism is what it is, clearly. um, but you know, I have a lot of friends that went to school for video and photography and everything, and I think that everybody's got a different view on it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it has its place. And like, one of my buddies, he went to AI. And I think one of the things that he really took away from it was that it did not set you up for success as an artist. It set you up just kind of to give you the basics and to get you like into a corporate environment.
Sure.
Really, what they're doing. They're not setting you up to do your own thing. They're not setting you up for the business side or to understand how cruel the business is. And I tell people this all the time, is that had I gotten into the music industry or the film industry 20 years ago, heavier than like I am now, I think I probably would have drowned and died in it. I think I would have just given up, because it's so much on the business end, and if you're not ready for that, it can really take you over and just destroy you and destroy any
Yeah.
creativity that you have. I mean, hell, Sleeping Dogs, basically, it almost did that to me. And it's a huge feat for anybody to take on. And I think that doing a full album too for a band is, that's thousands and thousands of dollars too, and it's a
Yep.
lot of time, a lot of effort, and it's hard.
Studio time and money does not come easily.
Yeah. But i'm
Yeah.
i'm completely self-taught, for the most part. Not on the writing end, but on the photography and video side, I'm completely 100% self-taught.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that some of that has played in my favor, because I think that I come to things with an open view
Mm-hmm.
and an open eye, and I can kind of see things differently from other people that have gone to school. But um, especially right out of school. But there are things that I think I missed out on that are like, that probably would have set me higher had I gone.
Probably nothing a YouTube video couldn't show you, though.
Nowadays, yeah.
Nowadays,
It,
yeah.
man, I just want to get some movies out there before all these other kids start coming up that are in the YouTube age,
Hmm.
because man, they're gonna kill us all.
Are these people like doing 15-second like movies via TikTok? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's going to be a force to reckon with when this thing evolves. So, when you're out in the field, and by the way, I looked at your photos; they're all pretty. They look damn professional. So,
Thank you.
good shit. Now, when you're out in the field, though, what is it that you're looking for? So, if a band is playing or the crowd is going off, what is that key thing you're looking for that you're trying to capture in that moment?
I don't like, especially with bands, I really don't like band members posing for me. Um, it happens, and especially with older bands, you'll see older bands posing for you a lot, and it's because they know that it's just a job, and it's a job for them too. I mean, they enjoy it obviously, but it's a job at the end of the day.
Sure.
You know, bands like Queensryche have been doing this for 30 years, 35 years, and they're just, they know that they need to give the best quality photo out there, so they're going to pose for you, and you're gonna have a few seconds to be able to take a really really solid photo for a magazine or a blog or whatever, right? But what I like is, for instance, when the guitarist is when he's completely into the moment,
Hmm.
and all he's thinking about is just playing, and just the enjoyment and the passion that you can see in their face at that moment. Those are the moments that I like to capture. I think it's really, really, really special moment, and somebody has to show it.
Sure. So, I mean, when it comes to photography, what is your crowning achievement? Like, if you were to look back at all the photos you've taken, is it Slash, or have you taken something that is just so spectacular that you're more proud of it even than that?
This is going to sound kind of cheesy, but we just had a baby, almost 3 months ago. So I would honestly say that it's my baby girl. There's a photo of her that I took when literally almost right when she was born. They cleaned her up and things like that, and they set her on the table and did all the things they do or whatever. But there was this photo that I took of her feet that just is really stunning to me,
Mm.
and is just, I don't know. I love it. I absolutely love it. But from the band side of things and just other photography pieces, there's a band. So there's a band called Whitechapel.
Mm-hmm.
They come around a lot. I've shot them a ton. I've got thousands of photos of these guys. I don't like them. This is the whole funny thing that I tell. So my buddy Mark is a huge Whitechapel fan,
Sure.
and I don't particularly like them very much. I think they're okay live. I think they're great, but I've shot them the best. It's hard way to explain this, but my favorite band shot of all time is of them. So
Sweet.
if that tells you anything, it's just odd. And yeah, I think that I've shot a bunch of bands that I absolutely love, but it's just for some reason Whitechapel, just that there's just one shot that I have that I just can't get enough of.
You got to share it with me. Also, just so you know, you probably broke every parent's heart just now talking about taking pictures of your newborn child's feet. Shout
Well,
outs
she
to
has
from
such
from
large
dad to another dad.
she has such large feet. I feel so bad for her because me and Courtney both are super tall.
Uh-huh.
So it's like, oh, this poor girl, this poor girl.
Cool. Well, to wrap things up a little bit, I mean, what other projects do you have in the future? I mean, obviously you're a creative dude with some cool creative things in the past. What's next?
Well, I'm gonna finish this car that's in the background for one thing. It's a
Nope.
that's a 73. It's a 73 Dart Sport that I'm converting to a 72 Dodge Demon. It Yeah. So I've
For
had that
those
car for.
for those of you that are just listening, it's a super dope red kind of sporty looking car. It's beautiful.
So yeah, that's kind of my goal right now. It's actually kind of helped me focus a little bit,
Hmm.
because I've been kind of all over the place a little bit. I've been writing a ton, but also not enough, if that makes sense, or
Sure.
not the right things, if that makes sense. So it's having the car to kind of just tinker around with and stuff like that has really helped me. But everybody's asking the same question now that Sleeping Dogs is like fully out. I've seen it pop up on iTunes today was the moment of my life that I was like, oh, thank God I can finally relax a little bit. Like, I don't
Mhm.
have to worry about this project anymore.
Well,
And
if you're anything like me, you're going to be Googling the Sleeping
oh yeah,
Dogs Lie over and over again to see what people are saying, and then lose sleep over it. So the stress is probably not over, but when you actually see that pop up onto some kind of distribution, it feels good.
it's amazing. It's funny, Courtney. I was just randomly after work today. I sat down and I turned on because our distribution company. He told me it could either be yesterday or today or tomorrow. He wasn't quite sure what day it was going to pop up, and I just kind of randomly searched it today, and it popped up, and I just kind of sat there for a minute staring at it. And Courtney walks over and she just starts crying because it's like it's all that weight on all of us. It's finally gone.
Yeah, man.
Um, but
No
my next
edits now.
no, it's done. But no, next project. So I'm sitting on about 6 feature films that are written. None of which do I really think that I could do at a low budget or a remotely low budget.
Hmm.
So I'm kind of throwing some things around right now. I've got some other people that are interested in potentially investing. So they're all kind of hanging in the wings, waiting, trying to figure out what I want to do. And one of the things that I really want to pride myself on as a filmmaker is that I don't do the same thing over and over and over again.
Sure.
So I'm not sure. I'm not sure. There's a part of me that really wants to do like an adventure film, like a kid's adventure film. There's also another big part of me that wants to do a horror film. So I'm just kind of all over the place right now, and I think I just need to focus myself.
For sure. Let me get killed in that though.
Definitely, definitely, dude. Um, but honestly, I think it's going to show its face sometime in the next couple of weeks, more than anything. I do.
Cool. Well, congratulations, man. I really enjoyed the flick. I hope everyone gets an opportunity to see it. And when this whole COVID thing is over, hopefully we can grab an actual beer instead of virtual beers and chat a little bit more. You're a cool dude, and appreciate you coming on the show.
Yeah, man, I really appreciate what you're doing, and how you're supporting the arts and stuff like that, especially locally in Sacramento, man. I mean, it's we need more of it, dude, and I love it.
Keep sending people my way. So before we introduce our guest DJ, is there any positive message? So if you could give just one positive message out there, what would that message be?
From the film side of things, I would say, and I say this a lot to a lot of people, it looks daunting as hell, and it is. It really is daunting, but just make sure that you have the right script before you start shooting something, and it'll mean the world to you at the end of the day if you take the time with it. I think that you know, story is king,
Mm-hmm.
and you each writer out there has a great story that they're trying to tell and they want to tell. So just tell it, get it out there, and let the world see it, man. Because you only live once.
Awesome. Well, Josh, absolute pleasure having you on here, man. Before we introduce the guest DJ, though, where can we find details about you? Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, whatever it is you have out there.
Never been on Twitch, so that's a new one on me.
You're
But
about to be.
yeah, I'm on Facebook, Josh Pierson. I'm on Instagram as the Metal Director, and it's kind of become my thing is the metal side of me and the music side of me and stuff like that, bringing the film side. And yeah, joshpearson.net. I'm just kind of all over the place. I'm on Twitter too. I forget exactly. I think my Twitter handle actually is Metal Director.
I think so too.
So
As I was doing my online research, I think that was what I was finding everywhere. So again, thank you so much for your time. This is awesome. Hopefully the Zoom meeting audio comes through pretty well, and we can get this thing out to the podcast market here pretty soon. So
oh yeah,
appreciate you, friend. And what that does lead us into is our second aspect of the show, which is typically a DJ mix. And this mix comes from a new friend of mine, Junior DeVega. He's a local DJ and had an opportunity to hear one of his sets, and really just was something that resonated with me. And we are happy to introduce you. You may know him, you may not. If not, he's our new friend. Here's Junior DeVega.